Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Do Bonsai. It's Monday the 26th. It's been a lovely, glorious sunny day yet again. It's early evening, late afternoon, and I thought we'd get back into the bonsai area and do a bit of work. But before we do that, I was thinking we have these days, you know, Ficus Friday, Citrus Saturday, Succulent Sunday, maybe Thuya Thursday. I was thinking, have we got one for Monday? I was thinking maybe Maple Monday. You could work on Aces as well. And then I was trying to think what we could have for Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I came up with a few little ideas, but I'll be interested to see what you guys think in the comments down below for Tuesdays and Wednesdays, for what days they could be. So get down there now and have a you know, messages and see what you think. I think Maple Monday is probably the way to go. Thuya Thursday we've already done. Ficus Friday is a good staple favourite. Citrus Saturday and maybe Sunday, and Succulent Sunday, which could also be the Saturday. But let me know what you think for Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Just before we get into the grow area, I just thought I'd have a quick little look around the garden. The weeping tree there, the weeping larch, I never did get around to getting an air layer on it. And then at the last club meeting I was talking to Stephen, who was going to put the air layer on the month before, and he was a little bit unsure as to whether we'd be able to air layer this larch anyway. So he was a little bit unsure about doing it. Now it has got some growth coming off the trunk down below, so if we were to lose the top, at least the tree would live on through that. But it's a hell of a thing to lose for an experiment. So again, if anybody knows if you can air layer larches off, especially on the main trunk, because that's what it'll be, an air layer off the main trunk, let us know. We're going to let it grow for the rest of this year and through next summer, because it did experience a bit of dieback where it was underneath at the back there, and where it wasn't getting too much sun. It's not the stablest of pots and setups, this. You can see there, it died back down a lot of the weeping branches, but we do have a lot of new growth coming through. I'm keeping it well watered and moving it around in the sun, and it does seem to be responding well to that, and it's doing okay. I got a large dawn redwood that's about 8 or 9 foot tall, and that went a bit weird as well. Similar sort of scenario, but I think this was due to underwatering. The basket that's in down there is quite aerated, as you can see, and I think it was drying out far too fast, and that, you know, trying to get that tree rehydrated was a bit of a challenge. But as you can see, there's new growth all over it. Most of the branches that are on it have recovered and has got lovely new growth on it. So, you know, a bit of a shame to have lost that initial growth, but it did put a second push out, and then there's lots of new growth up the trunk. Now the idea is to probably take an air layer off the top, air layer again, air layer again, air layer again, until we've just got the main trunk down at the bottom. And I'm pretty confident that we can get air layers off the redwood, but we're going to let that grow and recover at least for this year and get through the winter. It's sat in water at the moment, keeping it hydrated, and it's liking it. I took it out yesterday just to give it a breather from being sat in water, but yeah, it's kind of happy. The rest of the garden out here is doing really well. There's a couple of aces and maples around that are in pots, and other things that maybe could do with pulling out and getting a bit of sunshine, so we'll do that later. But the plan for today was to work on the desert rose planting and put our new shiny rocks in. Now as you can see, I'm quite a bit full in our area. and I kind of walked out yesterday without tidying up. But these are our shiny rocks that I was telling you about. Hopefully you can see the shiny glistening off the top of those, and some of them come in like a bit of a goldy colour, and they look really spectacular in the right sunlight. So I think we'll get these aquarium models out of the way. I've had some feedback saying that it'll be a good thing to do something with that, but I'm waiting for Nigel to give his okay on me doing the Ficus religiosa planting, which I probably need to do sooner rather than later. But I'm not going to do that until Nigel says get on with it, because Nigel's been doing his to prom temple for so long now. I don't want to just walk in and go, there you go, I've got a to prom temple, there's some ficus, there's a religious planting, job done. Be a bit rude. So I'm going to get some space in here, and we'll work on the desert rose planting. We'll get that sorted out, and maybe afterwards, if we've got time, if not, the next project will be the $50 challenge, the Mugo pine. It's sat in there, and it could do with some trimming and branch selection because we didn't really do much, and it's in that naff plastic lid of a pot. Now that plastic pot is very similar size and depth to the ones that we got up in Scotland. There's one of them in there, there's one that I've already chucked some soil in, and the rest of them are just down there. So I'll find probably the deepest one, and we'll look to get that into the $50 challenge pot. Why is the video sideways? Strange. It's not sideways. Okay, so we'll look to get the $50 challenge into one of those pots. I believe I at least had £10 spare on that, so the fact that they were £10 each is absolutely perfect. We're still well in the $50 challenge area that we was given. Before we get cleaned up and tidied up, I just want to point out the jade that we trimmed back has got lots of new growth all over it, and we'll look to try and trim that back some more, make some branch selection so we can create a nice bonsai out of that. And there it is in its yellow pot. So here's our desert rose planting. This one started rotting away. I don't know whether you can see that, but it continues to grow and continues to do well, so I'll be interested to see how it looks as it grows up. The leaves on these seem to grow and then die off, and they hang in there. We'll just take the dead ones away. Sorry about the movement in the camera. I'm sort of holding the tweezers in one hand and operating the camera with the other, and it's like tapping your head and rubbing your belly. It's difficult to do the two at the same time. But these are looking okay, they're growing all right. I'll just take the old leaves away. This one, it sat for ages, miserable, no leaves on it, just 4 little branches popping up, and it was really unhappy and didn't look like it was going to do anything. In fact, I thought it had died. And now this one looks that way and that one's growing. So they can be a little bit tricky, the desert roses. They look like they've died off and got miserable, but then all of a sudden they come back with some nice new growth like that. Big leaves, little leaves, lots of varying sizes. But if I just set the camera up here to one side, that's it. We can see the whole plant in there. We've got a small little cutting that's growing just there. I'll just turn the planting, sorry, so you can see it clear enough. And I'm going to get my Greenwood's bonsai scissors out, because the pine crassulas are going absolutely crazy. They were put in as cuttings and they've gone absolutely mad. So I'm going to cut them right back to probably just lower than some of these desert roses that are in, and then let them grow on. So you can see there the new leaves that were coming out at that junction, and we'll just come in and take these giant lower leaves away. I think we left them on so it could suck the moisture back out as it was growing and putting roots down, but we need it to have a bit of a trunk. So we'll just take those two sets of large leaves at the bottom away, and we'll leave the other ones on for now, but as the new smaller growth comes through we'll remove the larger ones. Same over here, it's gone absolutely crackers, and we just need to take it back to an acceptable sort of height. Again, we're going to need to get in and take out these lower branches, so we'll do that. I think we can take this large one off at the front. It's got some other growth coming out. This one just overtaking the whole planting, so take out some of these lower ones. They'll die back to the trunks, and then the trunks will thicken up and carry on. So that's a little bit better. We're not going to touch the desert roses, we're just going to let them do their thing. The jade at the back, I'm going to cut off the two larger leaves at the base, and they'll die back. There's a dead leaf just to take away, and then the larger crassula pine at the back just needs a good trim back. So we're going to come in at a height to suit it. We need to bring it down lower than these two. It's put out some really good growth, but we really do need to take it back. There's loads of aerial roots coming off, and I'm just looking, we'll just take the tips off of some of these so the energy can go in lower. Take the tip off here, leave that one. That one's on a, as they change, as it goes from 1 into 2. Just take that larger green leaf off. There's lots of the big green leaves. It'd be a good idea to get a lot of those out of the way and see what the smaller growth is doing. So we'll just nibble those away. And it will give us an idea of what we can do with our smaller growth, because that's going to look a lot better than these great big chunky leaves that are on the branches. The problem with doing this is you're always tempted to plant the cuttings, as I always am, and then you end up with loads more and they grow mad out of control, and then they go up again and again and again, and we're forever cutting back and taking out more cuttings. And we'll just take, I think we've got most of them big ones out. There's a couple just on the inside that I can just bend the branches apart and get into. The height of that is matching these, maybe just a little bit taller, but I kind of want it to thicken up and do a bit more, so I don't want to take too much off. I need it to keep putting that energy through the trunks, but we do need to keep it back as much as we can. So I will just take the top off of that one, and I think just the tip off of that branch that's coming out. Leave those two as I said, and there's similar ones around there. We're going to have to let it grow and just keep coming back and taking the occasional bits off. Don't want to do too much in one hit. And I'm just going to spray the Crassula's aerial roots, give them a bit of moisture. And the main reason we were going to work on this was our new shiny stones. We were going to take out these plain boring stones, if you like, and install some rather nice shiny mica stones. The shininess is mica, I'm told, so I think they're just going to set the planting off that little bit more. At least I hope they will. Feel free to tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think they'll set the planting off. These little stones will be able to do for anything else. We've got the branch that I planted underneath the ground where the jade is popping up. That's doing really well, and I just need to try and pull this rock out from the side of it. And then we just need our smaller rocks. That one was quite a big one that I took out, and I've got a nice shiny mica rock there, but it's just a bit too big. I think we might just try and get it in the center of the planting, bury it in ever so slightly, just put the sand around it, and when the light glistens off that, I'm hoping it gives a nice, you know, shiny effect, as if you was in the desert and you were looking into the distance and you got that haze. This, I'm hoping, will simulate that kind of haze effect that you would get if you actually was in the desert. So we'll just put a few of these sparkly rocks in place of the rocks we removed. I've got lots of rocks to choose from. Nice, really shiny rock just to replace that one there, and just dab it into the soil. Almost looks like a bit of a gold rush sort of scene, and I do like the ones that have got the gold effect in, but I'm struggling to get one that will go in to where we want it. We'll put that slightly different coloured one in there. There's a jade coming through. We need to make sure that that can continue to come through. It's a bit smaller than the one that was in there, but it will be okay. And you know, it's a case of maybe not going too far, less is more, and all that sort of thing. And we'll take the one that stood up at the back away, and I've got this really spectacularly shiny one that can stand up in its place and continue. I do like that. I do like it. All nice and shiny, all nice and spectacular looking. There's another one here that I'll just nestle in. Might be a little bit too much maybe, but I like it. Let's zoom in and take a look. So this is our desert rose planting. We've now got these really nice shiny rocks in place of the the plain ones. And there's lots. We could have really gone crackers and put these big ones in, but I'm hoping to come up with something for the larger rocks. And I do have another one. There's a really nice shiny stone with some nice seam through the rock, and we just need to find something that will suit that. But we've got the rocks. I'm sure we can create something with that. I think we will just take the top off of that jade at the back, and remove those larger leaves, and we'll continue to remove the larger leaves over time. To get that better looking, but it's in process, slow and steady wins the race. But we will just try and take this big one off the front, just to give it a little bit more shape. We'll get lots of little growth out of those cut points. Take the big one off at the back. Giving Nigel a run for his money here. Watched him this morning. He had a jade, great big tree jade, and he ended up with just 2 branches. A lot thicker than this one though. Lovely jade tree. And my comment was, where did that go? Whilst we were setting about the jades there, I thought I would get the Portula cariafra planting. I wouldn't call it a forest because it's just been thrown into this pot after being singular for so long, and it really does need to grow into itself, and you can see all the new growth coming in at different places. But I do kind of feel that this needs the Nigel Saunders treatment. We've got some nice new growth coming in different places, but it's so far away from the main tree. I think we do need to, get it to grow back. I've put some rocks in because everything's a little bit unstable in the pot. So I've put some of the shiny rocks in just to give it some balance. And I don't know whether to prune it yet or let it get a bit more energy and then give it a severe pruning right back. This is the ideal growing time. So part of me says yes, cut it back, do that work on it, get rid of the branches that are not looking too good. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling that Nigel would take this one back to here and here, and the rest would go. That one at the back, it would only be this high, and some of the branches would be gone. Some of them look dead, some of them don't look good at all. I think I probably need a good bit of looking at with that. I think that's going to be one of our next projects. But I've put the rocks on for now, and I am just going to give it a good watering because it is bone dry. So we'll give it a good water through and let it try and create some more energy and carry on doing as well as it can. See, those rocks have gone black, and then as the water runs off them they'll be really shiny. Absolutely spectacular. I'm really glad I've got these rocks. Whether I should or shouldn't have them, that's another matter. But lovely rocks. So a good watering, and we'll allow them to keep growing, but we need to set about these with a Nigel Saunders light pruning is probably how we should do it. And you'll hear the trees gasp as we come near with the cutters. So rather than do another tree, I think I'm going to get myself into more trouble now and I'm going to create another planting of some jade cuttings, the crassula pine cuttings, and you know, see how they get on. I'm sure they'll do fine, but let's find something to put them in and see if they grow. So we got this little oval pot that was purchased for £15. It was at one of the shows, I believe, that we went to, and it's a nice little pot. We'll get some drainage screens I should have laying around. So I've got some of this netting that I'm just going to cut some sections off and use as our screen. I must apologise for the constantly being lazy with the camera angle being here. I hope it's okay for you, but I need to set my tripods and things up again. I've moved them around and took them here and took them there, and I'm just being lazy. They're up in the garage, and whereas I could have a couple of cameras looking from different angles like I have done previously, I'm just being lazy and not bothering. So I do apologise for that, but there's no excuse apart from laziness. So we'll just get some soil into this nice little oval pot. This is the last of the last mix that I made, which was pumice, akadama. Did I put perlite in this? Yes, I did. I put perlite, and I put the reptile bark in as well. And that's been a good mix, a really good mix. I might have just overdone it in that tray because we're going to put a lot of these cuttings in now. If I just get my Grown by Let's Do Bonsai bowl and the scooper, pardon the belly always being in the way. I did notice in the video me oversized belly was always hanging in, and yes, I need to do something about that. We need to reinvest in the lemons again and start doing all the right things. But we've got lots of cuttings that I've left. They've calloused over or dried up, and we just need to get them into some soil and let them try and grow on. That one's put a lot of root out there, so we could we've got root there and there, and this will die back going forward. It's actually got a node there to there. I think actually I was thinking of cutting it off, but this is already dried up. So if we get my root rake and just create a planting level for that, that can go in and grow in. Let's take the leaves off. There's plenty of energy in the trunk, and that either will or won't put some new growth out, and if it does, we can take it out and put it into a nice little pot. Same with this one, it's trying to put some root out, so we'll just take the larger of the leaves away. And we'll find a little place for that to go. Shouldn't be doing this, but I am. I'll let that grow on. Then we've got another piece here with lots of big leaves. We'll just cut all them away, and then that part we'll make sure goes under and into the soil and let it continue. There's some nice bits of branching that I just kept because my idea was to make a mame sort of size jade, and these will do well in a small pot. So it's just a case of getting them into the soil. As best we can, but it doesn't, it doesn't need to be perfect. They'll grow in mid-air, so as long as they've got something to put roots down into, we'll be okay. This one has been laid in the moisture, and it's created itself as a bit of a raft. So I think we might plant it like that and just see how it carries on. We'll just take the tip off of that one, and we'll take the great big leaves off there. We'll take these larger leaves off here also, and we'll just lay that in there and just kick some soil around it. It's a bit like the desert rose planting where I just buried it into the soil, and it'll be like a bit of a raft, and eventually it'll be able to sit on top of the soil. In fact, we could probably pretty much do that anyway. Put it to the top of the soil like that, and that will continue to grow. Plenty of bits that we can just stick into soil and let it do its thing. Again, they either will or won't do much. I am going to cut this one back, I think, because it's quite long and we don't need it to be that long. It's still nice and green in the middle, so any growth will come out lower down, which is kind of what we want. I'll leave the other side. And I think these other bits I'm going to have maybe just this one more with lots of roots on. We'll just pull the leaves off this one. You can just twist and off they come. There's lots of root there. And we'll just drop that onto the soil and drop it in. And we'll pull the pine, crassula pine. We'll pull that down and try and find some point of soil for that to go in. Might just have to mound it up ourselves like that. These leaves will come off like you saw on the desert rose planting. They'll come off at after a bit, and they should grow. They should do really well. So we'll just strip another one back, and it's just a case of getting the head of that into some soil. And it will should carry on and do quite well. So it looks a bit messy. It is messy, but we're only trying to get it to do anything that it will do. So we'll get the other crassula pines, take the big leaves off, into the soil. Same again with this one, and this should be the last one. And they will just grow. You know, anybody can do this. There's nothing special. Anyone who's anyone can do it, and it should turn out nice for you. So I'm going to give it a good thorough watering, because all the, apart from where we've pulled off on the crassula pines, everything else is dried up and calloused. And we just, you know, a few weeks we should be able to come back and there'll be some roots in all of this. But that's how easy jades are, crassulas, most succulents. This is all you need to do. Create some soil, stick them in, and they grow fantastically well, mostly. So I'll stick that somewhere safe where it can continue to grow. It's just a mess, but it's, you know, it's only a 15-pound pot, and the moisture that's in there will feed the trunks, and it should cause it to create roots, and we should get some nice growth. If we don't, we don't. They were cuttings anyway. It doesn't matter a great deal. Once again, Scott, you're waffling. So there's the carnage. Carnage in the pot, carnage around the pot, carnage everywhere. Not quite a blue jay carnage, Cam, but it's carnage nonetheless. I am going to throw these away. I have got cuttings everywhere. Over at my mother's, I must have 50 or 60 cuttings. It's a good job they're not there at the moment, because yeah, I would be popular as usual. We'll carry on doing some jades. We could do with a day for jades, couldn't we? But that's Succulent Sunday, I suppose. I was kind of hoping to get a jade day, but there you go. Anyway, so I've waffled on for far too long. That's a little bit of work on some desert roses, our little desert rose planting, and some jades, and some of the pine crassula offcuts. I think they'll do fine. Get out there and make the best of the rest of your day. Be kind to each other, animals and the planet. And as always, I'll see you again in the next one.